Hi, welcome to this 1-hour webinar that we're running here on hypnosis, cognitive behavioral hypnotherapy, and the opportunity to retrain as a hypnotherapist and run your own business, own your own business, helping people change. My name is Mark Davis and I'm the Director and Principal and Lead Trainer at the UK College of Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy, and I'm really excited to be here, share this with you because I'm passionate about sharing knowledge about the human mind, about human experience, how we get stuck, and how we can free ourselves up from that, how we can help other people free up. But I'm particularly interested in teaching people coping skills. And you'll see that's the whole model we focus on, helping people help themselves. So I think you'll enjoy this next hour very much. Let me tell you what we're going to cover so you've got an idea of the agenda. Apart from introducing myself in a minute and a bit more about the college, I then want to take you into what is hypnosis, an experience. Actually join me in having an experience of hypnosis, doing 3 or 4 minutes of hypnosis and just see what that's like. And then we'll unpack that and see what was going on, see what worked, what didn't work, why it didn't work, and start to unpack the nuts and bolts of how hypnosis works and how we can learn how to do it better. That's one of the key things about the approach that we're going to focus on, is we can take a skills training approach to learning hypnosis. We'll look at the difference between hypnosis and relaxation, between hypnosis and meditation. Then we'll have a look at what it can be used for, a look at the research evidence. Lots of claims made, wild claims sometimes about what hypnosis can treat. What does the research say? And then how we can build on that and see, well, what then could we use it for if we're going out there to help people change? And then I want to take us into look at this model that we teach here, and we particularly specialize in cognitive behavioral hypnotherapy, and really understand this combination of cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, and hypnosis, and how we bring those together, and just give you kind of some of the key points and a taste of that approach, and how we think about then helping clients, and try and run you through some examples. And then, maybe most importantly for some of you, or just as importantly, let's talk about the opportunity, what it's like to be a hypnotherapist, the training involved, what you need to do, the qualifications, setting yourself up, and then the opportunity. And when I say opportunity, what I mean is that when you approach that from all the tools that you learn, for example, on the training we give, and then you have a very creative approach, there are so many opportunities to help people change because so many people are stuck, particularly with anxiety and stress. And really we can help people unlock their full potential, live their lives to the full, and in a way help our whole community and even the economy by helping everybody become more effective, more joyful, and live more meaningful lives. Let me tell you a little bit more about me. My background, I've got a degree from a long time back in psychology and philosophy at Sheffield University, and then I sort of had a spiritual crisis and realization and went off to India. And I spent 5 years living in India in an ashram, which is a sort of semi-monastic environment with a very disciplined schedule, lots of meditation, lots of chanting, lots of focused service on the community, and these are all sort of the key practices of yoga. I spent a long time studying also yoga philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, understanding about consciousness and the mind. Spent a further 10 years in the United States doing the same thing, working full-time for Yoga Foundation as a teacher and also manager there. And then came back here in 2005 with not really a profession to my name, loads of knowledge and experience, really wanting to help people, but not knowing how to put that into practice. I did a bit of marketing for a yoga center. That needed to change from that. And somebody said, why don't you need to be working as a teacher and a healer, helping people change. Why don't you look into hypnotherapy? So I researched and thought, well, that's all a bit woolly. There's some really wild claims out there, and it didn't appeal to my somewhat sort of strong and skeptical philosophical mind. And then I found this college called the UK College of Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy. It was run by Donald Robertson at the time. And it took an approach that was very science-based, very evidence-based, and also philosophically based on Greek Stoic philosophy, and that really appealed to me. This felt substantial and solid. So he said, come along for a day and see what you think, and I stayed and took the whole training, and in the end liked it so much I bought the college. but I'll tell you a bit more about that later. I took the whole training, and really just based off that training, my previous experience, I went into practice as a hypnotherapist, and within 18 months, maybe 2 years, had a full-time practice in North London and Central London, particularly working with anxiety, but also habit change, smoking cessation, insomnia, and supported my whole family doing that. So it's completely possible to do that. I did it myself and really just did it based on the training that we offer at the college here. So I'm in a way a proof of the product. And since then I took over the college in 2013 when Donald emigrated to Canada, and I've really enjoyed expanding what we do, added my own material in from my background in yoga, and love training people to become hypnotherapists and do exactly what I did. Support their families, putting roof over their heads, food on the table, and all the other things in life, doing the work they love, helping people change. So let me invite you into that journey. Okay, so let's have a bit of a look at what is hypnosis, and what's it like to do it, and can everyone do it? So the focus that we take very much here is on teaching self-hypnosis. And in a way, kind of one of the sort of main principles is that all hypnosis fundamentally is self-hypnosis. It's not done to you, it's something that you as the client or as the subject are actually engaged in and actively engaged in. So it's something that you're doing. Now you might have somebody else helping you do that and facilitate that process and be able to do that very skillfully, and get you into that experience. But it's not something that's done to you. And that's a key thing to understand. And when we start teaching it as self-hypnosis, that immediately removes lots of issues. Because if you're doing self-hypnosis, one, you're not under somebody else's control. Two, yeah, you're losing control or gaining control. Clearly you're actually gaining control. Are you going to be asleep or unconscious or sort of out of it? Well, clearly that's not going to be the case if you're doing self-hypnosis. So you start to think about it and look at it. When you're doing self-hypnosis, your attention is focused on a particular idea. And this sense of focused attention upon an idea and wanting to really get into that idea more and more and believe it more and more, this is really the essence of what hypnosis is about. It's like forgetting everything else and selective thinking on one idea. One of the principles, one of the ways we could think about it actually, and this is drawn from my colleague Donald Robertson's work on Stoic philosophy, where they talked about holding different philosophical ideas loosely in the hand or beginning to grasp them like this or bring them right in there. And this really is what hypnosis is like. We might start with an idea here, I now feel calm, relaxed and confident, and hold it quite loosely, but we want to get it right into the core of our being, so then when we begin to look at it more closely, I now feel calm, relaxed and confident, we bring it closer, we get into it, begin to believe it more and experience it. And then we begin to grasp our hand around it, I now feel calm, relaxed and confident. And then we take it into the core of our being, I now feel totally calm, relaxed and confident. Similarly, we may take negative ideas that once we held very preciously close to us and begin to take them out from our heart, if we will, from our core, and start to look at them and hold them more loosely and question them. And in a way, these two processes, this one focused attention on an idea that will be helpful for us to believe more deeply and gradually increasing our belief in it, that is doing self-hypnosis and letting go of and watching ideas that really aren't helpful to us. This really is actually mindfulness and the meditative process of observing our thoughts rather than holding them so deeply. With hypnosis, we take a deliberate thought, we kind of strategically engage in it to believe it more deeply. And particularly these thoughts about what we're able to do, increasing our sense of self-effectiveness. So if we think of it that way, also the other way to think about hypnosis is that it's imagination therapy. In fact, one of the people I trained recently, Dr. Bill Sheet, who runs a master's course in one of the London universities on environmental science, but he also loves helping students. And so he trained with us and he set up his website called imaginationtherapy.co.uk because that's what hypnosis is. You see, when you use your imagination, or particularly, for example, when you're absorbed in a movie, you do forget about everything else temporarily and are highly absorbed and even identify with the characters in the movie. In the same way in your imagination, you're highly absorbed, focused, and really experiencing what you're imagining. In fact, one of the definitions of hypnosis that I love is called believed in imaginings. Imaginings that we particularly kind of, in a way, nearly trick ourselves into believing, and then they become temporarily our reality while we're in hypnosis, and then influence us strongly even when we come out of hypnosis. So it's the use of imagination in deliberate and strategic and beneficial ways, rather than very often we've got negative thoughts and imaginings that are causing distress. So with that being said, I want you to understand that we can let go of unhelpful thoughts and really focus more and more in on one particular helpful thought that we want to get into. And that's the process of hypnosis. So some of the key things about it, you must want to do it and feel positively motivated towards it. And one of the things I want to address here is people's fears and concerns about hypnosis. Hypnosis is fundamentally a safe and beneficial thing, and it's good for you. There are no more dangers in hypnosis than in relaxation or mindfulness or watching a movie. Of course, you could watch a very disturbing movie if you want. I don't recommend you do some very disturbing self-hypnosis. Do hypnosis that is beneficial for you. So hypnosis fundamentally is safe and everyone can learn to do it. However, if you have a history of getting panicky when you close your eyes or when you meditate or relax, you feel really uncomfortable and you feel a bit scared, then maybe if we're going to do some exercises here, you can observe them and not do them now and find an experienced hypnotherapist to work with who can help you through that. There's nothing really unsafe going on there, but if you've got some concerns about it, that could make you feel unsafe, and it's really just in a way, you could hypnotize yourself to feel very unsafe in hypnosis, and that's what we don't want you to have, that experience. So if you're concerned about that at all, set that aside. Otherwise, let's have a taste of doing hypnosis now. Let's experience hypnosis, and I'll tell you what we're going to do. Part of the approach that we take is always informed consent when we're working with clients. We're going to let them know what we're going to do. We're not going to deliver anything secretly through the back door or anything. So we're going to do, first I'm going to have you turn your eyes up to get them feel very tired and strained quite quickly, and then give suggestions that I want you to give to yourself that your eyes are getting tired, which they are, and discover that your eyelids can start to feel heavier, maybe even close spontaneously. I'll count from 5 down to 0. Just let them close as they get heavier. And if they haven't closed when we get to 0, don't worry about that. Just close them on 0 and you'll find a nice feeling of relaxation from holding your eyes and then letting them relax on 0. So just close them down off 0 if they haven't closed. Then I'll count you deeper, and I'm going to have you imagine walking down some steps and getting twice as deeply relaxed and twice as deep into hypnosis with each step. Again, I want you to imagine along with what I'm saying, think along with what I'm saying. Just imagine you're agreeing and experiencing with everything I'm saying, and then you'll find it very easy. And then I'm going to have you pick a pleasant colour. You might even want to think what that colour is now. A pleasant colour that symbolises for you pleasant relaxation. And once you pick that colour, I'm going to have you imagine that colour filling you up and filling with all sorts of lovely good feelings of pleasant relaxation and expanding out into the room around you. And after that, I'm then going to, in that lovely feeling you're going to have, I'm going to have you focus on a very helpful general idea. I now feel calm, relaxed, and confident. And I want you to slowly repeat that to yourself a few times. And as you do that, I'm going to then ask you also to make a gesture. And that gesture could be, I'd recommend putting, for example, your thumb and 2 fingers together of your left hand if you're right-handed, your non-dominant hand. So it's some little small gesture you can secretly make to yourself, or it might be like that, or it might be like that. That then we're going to associate with that colour and feeling and with that thought. And we're going to make that association a few times, connect those together. So you've got a cue, even a trigger for those thoughts and feelings. And then I'll emerge you from hypnosis and we'll debrief a little bit what that experience was like. Okay, so let's go. So sitting comfortably, good to have your feet flat on the floor. Just relax back, have your arms resting comfortably, and then when you're ready, simply close your eyes. And just focus on my voice now. So if you're still looking at me, it's going to be witchy. You can do it with your eyes open, but better if you close your eyes and now just focus on my voice. And to begin with, just to settle into this, what I want you to do is to take a comfortable breath in, hold the breath for a few seconds and feel like you're holding your body slightly as you hold the breath. And then gently release the breath. Don't push it out, just let go. And as you do that, just let the body relax and settle down. And continue that feeling of relaxing and settling down. And know that in a few moments you can go into a very pleasant state of deep hypnotic relaxation where you can start to experience positive thoughts and feelings that are going to be beneficial for you. So now when you're ready listening to my voice, what I want you to do is to slowly open your eyes without tipping your head back at all. Slowly open your eyes and turn them up as if you're looking at your own forehead or at a point on the ceiling just above you. So you don't tip the head back, you just turn the eyes up really strongly and fix the eyes up there. And don't let them move. Pick a point and stare at that point strongly and don't let the eyes move. And as you do that, you're going to find the eyes start to rapidly feel quite fatigued and tired. And now you can help that process by focusing on that feeling and telling yourself, yes, my eyes are beginning to feel tired. My eyelids are getting tired and heavy. And if you feel your eyelids flutter or close a bit as you say that, that's very good. You're beginning to respond to your own hypnotic suggestion. As I'm going to count from 5 down to 0 now, I want you to count along with me in your mind and imagine that with each and every number, your eyelids are becoming more and more heavy, tired, droopy, drowsy, and sleepy, and let them close. You can let them close in any number. If we get to 0, they haven't closed yet, that's absolutely fine. Just relax them on 0. And then continue following my voice. Beginning now. 5. And your eyes are feeling more tired naturally. 4. The more you try and hold them up, the more now they want to relax and close. 3. The eyelids are getting heavier and heavier. 2. Imagine them becoming really heavy and tired. Even like there's little lead weights on the eyelashes pulling them down. You're trying to hold them open. 1, they're getting heavier, closing, and 0. And let your eyelids close down completely. Relax your eyes completely. Relax your face completely. Relax your body completely. Relax your mind completely. And sleep. Sleep now. That means forget about everything else for a while and just focus on my voice and relaxing as deeply as you can possibly imagine relaxing right now. Good. And once again, take a deep breath in. Hold it for a few seconds. And then as you exhale long, send a wave of relaxation from the crown of the head right the way down to the soles of the feet and sleep deeper, deeper. Imagine sending wave upon wave of relaxation deep into the center of your being. Again, and again, and again. Sleep deeper, deeper. Good. Now I want you to imagine now that you're at the top of a short set of steps, 5 steps of hypnotic relaxation. And you can visualize those if you want, or just keep your mind on the idea. It's actually the idea that counts. I'm going to count you down those steps in a moment, one by one. I want you to count along with me in your mind and imagine that with each and every step that your foot touches, that you're becoming twice as deeply relaxed and going twice as deep into hypnosis. Beginning now on the 5th step and stepping gently down, down, down. Your foot touches the 4th step, twice as deeply relaxed. Good. You continue stepping down and down. Your foot touches the 3rd step. More relaxed now, deeper in hypnosis. continue just to focus on my voice as you imagine stepping down and down. Your foot touches the second step. Deeper state of hypnotic relaxation now. Good. Just focusing on my voice as you continue stepping down, down. And now all the way down to the first step. A very deep state of hypnotic relaxation. Good. Now in a moment I'm going to count 0, and when I count 0, I want you to imagine that you're sort of stepping onto and then through the very floor into the deepest, most peaceful, wonderful state of hypnotic relaxation you can imagine right now. And 0. Stepping onto and then through the very floor into the deepest, most peaceful state of hypnotic relaxation. And 0. 0. 0. Good. And again, and again, and again. Good. Deeper and deeper as you relax now. And with this relaxation, you can enhance this relaxation now by imagining a smile on your lips or in your eyes, or a smile in your heart, and just blend this hint of a smile with this feeling of relaxation. This begins to bring about a very pleasant relaxation. And I want you now to pick a colour that represents feeling of pleasant relaxation. It can be any colour. So pick that colour now. Now I want you to imagine that colour, picture it in your mind's eye, right in the core of your being. And imagine that colour now beginning to grow and spread. Imagine that wonderful colour now beginning to grow stronger. And as it does so, make those feelings, those good feelings, deeper and stronger. Imagine that wonderful colour of pleasant relaxation now beginning to fill the core of the body and spread out into the arms and legs, and make those feelings now deeper and stronger. Smiling to yourself inside now as that colour begins to fill you up. From the crown of your head to your fingers and toes, your whole body filled with that colour and those good feelings. And imagine that colour now filling you up and overflowing into the space around you. For a moment now, imagine that colour being everywhere, filling all of space and carrying that feeling with it. And now just let go and bathe in that colour and that feeling, smiling to yourself inside, feeling that colour everywhere, and relax completely into that colour and do nothing. Experiencing your own well-being, your own positive nature. As you bathe in that colour now, I want you gently to repeat to yourself, warmly and encouragingly, the words, I now feel calm, relaxed and confident. I now feel calm, relaxed and confident. With this hint of a smile and with this pleasant colour everywhere, repeating those words, and imagine that idea getting stronger and stronger, as if you can take that idea into the, not just in the palm of your hand, but into your fist and right into your heart. I now feel calm, relaxed and confident. Totally grasping that idea into the core of your being. And as you do that now, I want you to make that gesture that we talked about earlier, maybe with your thumb and first two fingers, whatever that gesture is, make that gesture. And feel you associate that gesture with that colour and that idea. I now feel calm, relaxed and confident. Yes. Imagine agreeing with that idea as you make that gesture. Make the association stronger between that gesture, that idea and that colour. And even imagine now as you gently push and squeeze that gesture a little bit, the thumb and fingers together, that you can increase that colour and increase that idea. As if you have control over it, you can get into it more. Yeah, I now feel calm, relaxed and confident. Imagine that idea more powerfully within you. As you pulse the fingers together, you can pulse the idea within you, and that colour growing stronger. Good. Now relax your hand. And know that you've had here an experience of hypnosis, and you're learning how to use your mind and imagination. And from now on, this is going to be easier for you to do. And this idea, I now feel calm, relaxed and confident, will come more easily to you, and that wonderful colour and feeling will come more easily to you now each day. And this gesture, it doesn't make it happen by magic, but it does make it easier for you. When you make that gesture, you more easily think about that idea in that colour, and maybe it does come in automatically for you. Maybe you have to think about it a bit, but you now know how to do it and can bring that idea in. Good. Now in a moment I'm going to count from 1 up to 5, and as I count, you're now emerging from hypnosis feeling good. With each number I count, now feeling better and better and better, till on the count of 5, you'll open your eyes and emerge fully from hypnosis, feeling wonderfully good, calm, relaxed, clear, positive, refreshed and confident. Beginning now. 1, beginning to breathe more deeply. 2, from the crown to your head, your fingers and toes, you feel calm, relaxed and confident. You feel good, smiling to yourself inside now on 3, as you're more aware of the room around you, breathing in more energy now. And 4, really feeling more enlivened now as you breathe in more fresh air on the in-breath, allows you to feel more alive and getting ready to open your eyes and emerge fully into the room. And 5, open your eyes and emerge fully from hypnosis, feeling wonderfully good, calm, relaxed, refreshed, clear, positive and confident. Good. So take a moment. One of the good things when you come out of hypnosis is to stretch. Really brings you back into the room. If you ever watch an animal or a dog who's been sleeping, resting, they always stretch. And when you've been doing hypnosis, relaxation, meditation, one of the best ways to emerge back out of that and stay in the body and not get too much into your thinking straight away is to stretch and bring your body back into the present moment, and now become really alive and in the present moment and back here with me. So I hope most of you had a very positive experience there. Some people, a very small number, sometimes when they do hypnosis, feel a little bit fuzzy, or they might get slight bit of a headache. That's exactly the same number that would experience that if they did some meditation or some relaxation. In other words, when people tend to close their eyes for a while, sometimes they come out and feel a tiny bit out of sorts for a few minutes, but that passes usually very quickly. Most people have a very positive experience. Some people struggle with the experience and find, oh, it didn't work for me and I can't get into it. And so we want to have a look at the positive experience, what happened, but also if you couldn't get into it, let's have a look and see what's going on there too. Okay, so let's unpack this experience a little bit and start to understand what was going on there, and also some of the obstacles people can have with it. I think one of the main obstacles people have is they have an expectation of being unconscious or asleep, or they might fall asleep. So even though we use the word sleep often when we do hypnosis, because people have a really strong response to that word, it brings about sort of sleepy change in the whole being. Hypnosis actually has got very little to do in the end with sleep and relaxation. A little bit of relaxation can help, but the key aspect of hypnosis is increasing suggestibility. Really absorption in an idea and increasing suggestibility. So if you go to a stage hypnosis show and everyone just fell asleep on stage, it really wouldn't be much of a show, would it? So what is it that makes the hypnosis show so interesting is watching people who suddenly can't bend their arm, they're stuck in the chair, they can't get out of the chair, they think they're 5 years old. In other words, they're responding really strongly to the suggestions that the hypnotist is giving. And this is the essential feature of hypnosis, is this extraordinary response to ideas. And I want to show you how that comes about. Now, some people are going to say and explain that by saying that people are in an altered state of consciousness, a trance state. And this, I think, is an unhelpful idea. I mean, altered state of consciousness, if you want to say when you close your eyes, you're having a kind of slightly altered state of consciousness from having your eyes open, that's fine. That's a reasonable use of the term. But if we mean something really super different from normal day-to-day experiencing, then it's really not a helpful term. And the word trance, interestingly, historically, the word trance, when it was originally used, really meant being in a sort of comatose, death-like state. Something that people wouldn't really associate with hypnosis now. And somehow it's become associated with hypnosis, but it's not a very helpful idea. And for a couple of reasons. One is that people don't naturally describe their experience of hypnosis as being in trance, unless they've been introduced to that term. So it's not a natural description of it. And secondly, we've got no way of measuring whether people are in trance. The only way to measure whether they're in hypnosis is when their suggestibility increases. So having the trance as a way to explain it when we can't measure it becomes a real problem, and hypnotists start to worry, I can't get my client into the right level of trance. It's really, have you got the client focused and responding to ideas? That's the key thing. Because then we can do things like sports hypnosis, and somebody can put themselves into a hyper-suggestible state just before the race and really respond to the ideas they're thinking about. Do we really want them with the idea they're going into a trance before the state? So they can learn to have a much more flexible use of positive ideas when we start to understand hypnosis as increased suggestibility and absorption in ideas, rather than using this word trance. So I want to set aside the word trance and not really have that, and think much more of a sort of a sliding scale of increasing suggestibility, and people are surprisingly suggestible even before hypnosis, they just don't know it, and increasing absorption. So think about sort of two sliders here. We're increasing the suggestibility, we're increasing the absorption. There's a little bit of increasing relaxation that can help for some people, but equally we can get that increased suggestibility by actually having people become even more alert. So relaxation is not a requirement for hypnosis, although it does go together very well, as you'll see. So it's not trance, it's not relaxation, and also it's different from meditation. In meditation, you're essentially learning to control your attention either onto one idea or into sort of an open witnessing in mindfulness of everything that's flowing past your experience. But the idea here is that you're aware of what you're attending to and you're in control of your attention. Hypnosis is more like focusing your attention deliberately on one particular idea in order to experience that idea. It's much more related to the focus type of meditation than the mindfulness type meditation. But you're also using that focus on an idea very deliberately and strategically to bring about an increasing feel of confidence, to create a numbness, to control pain, to create a sleepy feeling to fall asleep, to increase your energy when you do feel sleepy and you need to feel energized. So you're learning to use your attention on particular ideas to bring about real changes in your emotions, physiology, behavior, and subsequent thinking. So let's have a look and understand what actually is going on there. Firstly, one of the things that really causes a problem for people with hypnosis is they're trying to focus on one idea and they're having other thoughts come in here. So the topic of interfering thoughts, and this is something for meditators as well. When you sit and meditate, what comes up, you're thinking. So learning how to relate to interfering thoughts, set them aside and keep bringing your attention back onto this one thing is a skill that we can actually develop. Some people have that straight away, they can do it really easily. Other people are struggling and they're starting to engage with all the thoughts coming up, and then they start telling themselves, I can't do hypnosis, it's not working. And then they kind of hypnotize themselves into not being hypnotizable in a way, because they just, I can't do hypnosis, it's not for me, and they're believing that idea. So what we want to do is have a very much, rather than a success-failure mindset, I can do it, I can't do it, much more a sort of learning mindset and a sort of trial and error. And I think I can figure this out, how to get this to work. So we focus on an idea and we begin to work on getting the response to that idea. And that idea might be relaxation, it might be confidence, it might be just any particular suggestion that we're giving ourselves. And if interfering thoughts are coming in, we're just kind of going, so what about them? It's the struggle with interfering thoughts that really stops us going into hypnosis. It's the struggle with interfering thoughts that is the problem when we try to meditate. And very often it's the struggle with interfering thoughts that we actually have in our daily lives. We're not thinking deliberately and strategically as in hypnosis. We're kind of having lots of what I call pop-up thoughts come in that interfere with our experience, and then we get entangled with those. So we want to disentangle from these pop-up interfering thoughts, and that's very similar to mindfulness. And then we want to focus our attention on helpful ideas. And so in the way we present hypnosis, mindfulness and hypnosis become two sides of kind of the same coin of learning how to focus our attention on beneficial things. Letting go, let unhelpful thoughts and pop-up thoughts pass, and the things that we want to be thinking about, we focus our attention on much more deliberately and with a sense of kind of getting ourselves into this increased believability, this believed in imaginings. So let's understand a little bit about the mechanics of hypnosis. You know, when you turn your eyes up, a lot of you are going to feel like your eyes are sort of getting heavy and closing. When somebody is imagining they can't bend their arm, they really are having a physiological experience in the body to the idea. The key thing here is that ideas are physiological events in the body. And in a way, understanding properly about hypnosis and that ideas are events in the body helps solve the whole mind-body issue. And you start to see that it's all one system. So when we focus on the idea sleep, Pavlov even measured this, that there is actually a physiological response to the word sleep. And Pavlov and that whole team of physiologists actually developed whole theories of hypnosis that were based upon the responses to language, that were these automatic responses to ideas. So yes, ideas are really physiological events in the body. And that's pretty obvious when you think about it. The classic experience of thinking about biting into a lemon. You'll notice yourself salivate. Do you want to try that? Actually, let's try that. So just close your eyes now and imagine that someone's bringing in front of you a board of lemons on a nice wooden board, you know, and that now they cut the lemon. You can hear it being cut. Imagine it being cut in front of you, and then maybe you can imagine as that lemon is cut in half and that's happening right in front of you, you can actually smell the lemon. And then imagine with your eyes closed there, somebody bringing the lemon right up underneath your nose and you can smell it. Then you open your mouth slightly and then imagine taking just a little gentle bite into that lemon and feeling that lemon juice flow into your mouth. Okay, now you can open your eyes. Now, as you're imagining that idea of the lemon being there, many of you, in my experience, most of you will have experienced some salivation at the idea of biting into the lemon. So here's a physiological response to an idea. Not just that, some of you, in a proportion, maybe about 20%, might have actually smelt the lemon, in which case you hallucinated the smell of the lemon just based off of the idea. And this response to ideas like this, that there are automatic responses to ideas, is called the idiodynamic response. And there are two main ways. One, we have idiosensory responses. We might imagine something and smell it or taste it, have a sensory response, salivate. We might experience warmth or cold in the body. Or idiomotor responses, where the muscles move automatically and involuntarily. Now, there's been lots of research into this that tends to get forgotten. The research actually goes back quite a long time into the Victorian era, where they researched what was going on with table turning and pendulums and things like this, and divining, and they discovered it was all unconscious muscular movement that was occurring, i.e. below the level of awareness, the muscles were moving automatically and making minuscule movements that then made the pendulum move, or as a group made the whole table turn if they were doing kind of a seance, or if you're divining, made the rod change. Actually, it's the muscles in your body responding automatically to your ideas. And there's more research on this. In the 1930s, Professor Clark Hull did lots of really important research that put hypnosis on scientific ground. A lot of very kind of boring research, but it was critical to establish the scientific basis for hypnosis. And one of the things there was measure people's suggestibility in a particular test that I really enjoyed telling people about called postural sway test. So in this test, people will be standing up and they measure whether the person was leaning forwards or backwards with what's called a postural sway meter. And then somebody would come forward and say to them, very authoritarian style, "You're falling forward, you're falling forward, you're falling, falling, forward, forward," and give them 30 seconds of very direct, what we call authoritarian suggestion, and see the response. 90% of people spontaneously lean forward during that time of receiving the suggestion. Either a little bit, some really fell forwards, but the meter picked up that leaning forwards. 10% of people didn't seem to respond. Now, however, when they looked more closely, they noticed that half of those people that didn't respond started to lean backwards. So whether they were consciously going, "No, I'm not," or whether the body had just an automatic opposite response, there was definitely a response, but it was the reverse of what was intended. And then when they looked more closely at the remaining people who didn't seem to respond, they looked really closely at the data. What they saw was something really interesting. That the natural tiny swaying movements of the body that are always happening when we stand had stopped, and these people had frozen, sort of blocking the response. Again, we don't know whether that was conscious or just automatic. But the really interesting thing here is that nobody was able to stand there naturally and not respond to the ideas, block it, or do the reverse. Everybody responds to ideas. They do influence us. And in a way, you can start to then understand how maybe your own negative thinking or unhelpful thinking and imagining might actually influence the way you feel in the body. Because thoughts are events in the body. Now let's experience this for ourselves with a couple of what we call suggestion tests. And one of the classic ones, a very easy one, I mean, some of you experienced that when you held your eyes up, and you can try that again. Turning your eyes up strongly and just watch me, fixing the eyes up. So do that yourselves. I don't tip my head back, I turn the eyes up strongly. And then I focus on the idea that my eyes are getting heavy and tired, my eyelids are getting droopy, drowsy, sleepy. I keep repeating that idea. And you can see my eyes beginning to respond. In fact, I'm going to have trouble opening them in a minute. In fact, I might even tell myself it's getting harder and harder to open my eyes. And they've just closed down, or they're going off doing their own thing now in response to the ideas. So my body's responding, hold on, let me just open my eyes now. My body's responding automatically to the ideas that I'm giving it. And this is what we want to, when we train ourselves to do that, our body to respond automatically to ideas and begin to, in a way, kind of marshal that or kind of spin that up into a more and more focused experience of responding to ideas, then we're getting ourselves into, if you want to call it the hypnotic state, I prefer to call it the hypnotic mindset. We're responding to ideas strongly. So let's try another one here. It's a very simple one. I want you to hold your finger up in front of you like that. And now, don't look at the screen. I want you to focus on your finger. Not my finger, your finger. So don't look at the screen, just focus on your finger intensely and check it bends. Okay, it bends, good. Now, just focus on my voice now and your finger. I want you to imagine your finger becoming more rigid and stiff and even just strain it a bit more. But as you do that now, imagine that underneath the skin now there is a steel rod, that in fact all the joints are fused. In fact, that is an iron rod, a steel rod. Your finger is a steel rod and completely stiff and rigid. Imagine underneath the skin it is completely a steel rod, completely stiff and rigid. And as you imagine that, your finger can become more stiff and rigid. Imagine it becoming more stiff and rigid, so stiff and rigid that it is a steel rod and you cannot bend it. And tell yourself, I cannot bend it. It is totally stiff and rigid. Completely focus your mind on that idea. I cannot bend my finger. It is stiff and rigid, a steel rod. And when you've got that feeling, make a test and try to push against that rigidity and find your finger becoming even more stiff and rigid. While you focus on that idea and want it to work, you cannot bend it. And now relax that idea from your mind, relax your finger and tell yourself, I can bend my finger. It's a finger, I can bend my finger. And make sure you can really bend your finger. Okay, good. So you might have experienced there that when you focus your attention on an idea there, that you really can experience your finger becoming more rigid, maybe a little bit, but maybe even quite a lot, and that it became so rigid that for a while you couldn't bend it, as long as you wanted to have that experience. You have to want to have the experience. You have to imagine it happening, and then also set aside the interfering thoughts. Oh, I can bend it if I want to. Of course you can bend it if you want to. We're asking you to imagine that you cannot bend it and engage with that idea. As you do that, you can feel the body respond, and then you can sort of play that up into a total response where you feel your finger is completely rigid, you cannot bend it. And then your mind is in this hypnotic mindset where whatever you focus upon now immediately becomes your experience. Another good and fun way to test this is we call a coin drop. Sometimes this is used as a way of going into hypnosis, but here I want you just to see it as the way in which your thoughts influence your body and the way in which the body responds to ideas. And what I'm going to ask you to do in a moment is to hold a pen or a coin. So find something you can hold between your fingers. Pen is fine, I've got a coin here. And I'm going to ask you to hold like that, and then imagine the fingers being pulled apart like that. And in fact, just do that yourselves. Hold your thumb and finger up like that, and just pull them slowly apart like that. And really look at your thumb and finger being, don't look at mine, look at yours. It's your body. Notice what that feels like and what it looks like to pull your thumb and finger apart slowly like that. Good, so you're creating kind of a nice sort of muscle memory and visual memory of the thumb and finger moving apart. Now, hold the pen or the coin between your thumb and finger and focus on my voice. Now I want you to imagine your thumb and finger being pulled apart, your thumb and finger opening, being pulled apart, just like you imagined it, just like you saw it just now. Imagine it happening again. Run the movie in your mind of your thumb and finger being pulled apart, pulled apart, pulled apart. Your thumb and finger being pulled apart, pulled apart, pulled apart. Remember what that looked like. Remember what that felt like. Your thumb and finger being pulled apart, pulled apart, pulled apart. The thumb and finger opening, being pulled apart, opening, opening, opening. The thumb and finger opening, opening, opening. Your thumb and finger being pulled apart, opening, opening, opening. Okay, so again, not everyone will have experienced that because people respond to different suggestions and they may have more or less interfering thoughts they get caught up in. But most of you will probably have experienced there the coin dropped or the pen dropped. As you focus on the idea of the thumb and finger pulling apart, the muscles are unconsciously making that movement. And the thumb and finger are spontaneously coming apart. And this feeling of this involuntary response to ideas is the essential feature of hypnosis and is the thing that we want to start to, in a way, spin up into a really focused, responsive mindset. And then we can focus on the ideas, not just thumb and fingers falling apart or fingers being locked, but if you want to do pain control, that my hand is becoming numb. And remember, like a pins and needles numbness into the hand and get that response to do pain control. For example, you want to do pain control with your hand. You might want to imagine a very pleasant warmth into your hand and spread that feeling into your tummy to soothe your tummy. For example, if you have irritable bowel syndrome or disturbed tummy, you can get a really strong feeling going in the hand, spread that into the tummy, and your attention is totally focused and your imagination is totally responsive to those ideas, and you get those feelings coming in. Or you might want to focus on the idea of feeling strong and confident before you play tennis or do a boxing match, or that you're focused, alert, and have excellent memory before you do an exam. So you get yourself in this responsive state and then give yourself the beneficial suggestions. And that's the art of doing self-hypnosis. And then you can come out of it anytime you want and respond normally to the world around you anytime you want. Okay, so I hope you understood there some more, had an experience of and understood some more about how hypnosis works, and particularly this thing what we call the suggestion effect, the automatic response to an idea. And what we're really doing when we take somebody into hypnosis is we're having them experience a whole range of suggestion effects. Their eyelids getting heavy, closing, they're relaxing deeper and deeper. Maybe they get so relaxed they can't even pick their arm up, for example. That really bring about this hypnotic mindset where they're going to respond now to whatever is placed in front of their mind because they want to. They do remain in control, and that's one of the key features. Actually, hypnosis is about gaining control, not losing control. Okay, so let's look, why take an evidence-based approach? I mean, there's loads of different stuff there about hypnosis. Well, the key thing there is that there's lots of good research into hypnosis. Not done by somebody in their therapy room somewhere up in Scunthorpe, but done at universities around the world, at Harvard, at Berkeley, at Stanford, at UCL in London. It's a serious research topic in psychology. There are academic journals about it. So what we teach at the UK College of Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy is based off of that research, and two particular types of research. One is experimental research, and a little bit that I was describing there with Clark Hull's experiments back in the 1930s, to understand what hypnosis is, what suggestibility is, and even scanning people's brains to see what happens when they're in hypnosis. You can do that. So there's lots of experimental research to understand what hypnosis is. And then there's also clinical research to say, well, what is hypnosis effective for in terms of helping people with pain, anxiety, etc. So we can have a look at those two things there. And the way we teach hypnosis, which is very much not about trance or going into the state of hypnosis, but much more about using kind of normal psychological factors, motivation, focused attention, confidence about responding, absorption in your imagination. These are normal terms in psychology, and that's how we think about hypnosis being a particular time when you bring these components together in a particular way to bring about change. And it's also about understanding our general suggestibility, that in fact everyone is a lot more suggestible than they might imagine, which the Clark Hull experiment shows you there. So that's the experimental research, and there's loads of stuff that's taught out there. I have to say most books on hypnosis are wildly wrong about what hypnosis is. And we will direct you towards good quality, accessible, easy to read, but solid textbooks that are based on academic research. And the second thing there is then what hypnosis can be used for in terms of the evidence base of its effectiveness. And there are a lot of claims there made about it. People will say, you know, we can have you lose weight and stop smoking in one session. So one thing to say is that long-term behavior change, like stopping smoking or losing weight, hypnosis on its own is not effective for. So we're just going to let the dog in because the dog's trying to come in the room. Come on, come here. All right, this is my dog. You can't see her, but she's just here. So where hypnosis is particularly, perhaps the most evidence for hypnosis is for pain control. So that is both doing hypnosis with somebody to help control their pain, but particularly teaching self-hypnosis so that people can learn to regulate their own pain. And there's a ton of evidence for hypnosis being really good both for acute pain control in the moment where somebody's hurting, but also chronic pain control where in a way pain has become, is just ongoing and hasn't told them they've injured anything. It's just a fairly useless part of their life with chronic pain. And people can learn to reduce, turn down, control, even turn off their pain using hypnosis. Other areas that it's good for, particularly working with anxiety and stress. There's a lot of research for, and you can think that's just a whole area, increasing people's confidence. In terms of improving their performance, whether that is at work, whether that's sports performance or dramatic performance, hypnosis, and particularly imagery rehearsal under hypnosis, is phenomenally good for helping people achieve optimal states of performance. Other areas that it's really good for, and where there's a lot of research, is for psychosomatic areas, particularly irritable bowel syndrome. So there's lots of research now that hypnosis is an effective treatment for chronic IBS, and you should even be able to get it under the NHS because it's one of the recommended treatments under the NHS. Also recent research coming out showing that it's helpful for dealing with menopausal symptoms, hot flushes, quite a lot of research in that area so that women can learn to control their symptoms, particularly the hot flushes, using self-hypnosis. Just to give you an idea of that particularly, they're going to learn to imagine coolness flowing through their system, remembering the feeling of being underneath an air conditioner, and really triggering the idiosensory responses to the idea of cool air flowing over them as a way to cool their body down using their imagination in hypnosis. So once we start to understand, and when we start to add in components of behavior therapy and cognitive therapy, particularly behavioral change, into, for example, exercise and diet and eating programs, then hypnosis can be added in really effectively for weight control, for weight loss and weight control. And similarly for smoking cessation, adding hypnosis onto a cognitive behavioral approach, and a lot of cognitive and behavioral interventions for smoking cessation can make it a really effective treatment. And that's what we specialize in particularly. Both, as I said, is looking at hypnosis not as a trance, but more as a particular use of your mind and imagination. And also then how to add it onto typically cognitive behavioral therapy, sometimes just behavior therapy, which I'm particularly interested in behavior therapy, adding hypnosis onto that. And this model of hypnosis we treat adds onto that really well. And we've got some research, there's quite a few pieces of research, and by that I mean randomized controlled trials properly done, published in proper peer-reviewed journals, that shows that when you add hypnosis onto CBT treatments, it actually improves the outcomes compared to CBT alone. We've got research there for anxiety and stress, we've got research for weight control, we've got research for pain control there, we've got research also for depression, for treating depression, that adding hypnosis to a cognitive behavioral program improves the outcomes. So that's really quite exciting. So if you're going to learn this approach here with us, you're going to be learning how to kind of, in a way, sort of supercharge the CBT protocols, which are very effective in their own right. We really want to learn how to do those, not just come in and pretend hypnosis does everything. We're very passionate about teaching the cognitive behavioral approach and understanding that and adding hypnosis to that. In a way, hypnosis isn't its own therapy. It's always, you're using it in a particular way. And this way of helping people, when we say cognitive behavioral, we mean changing thoughts and behavior, helping change behavior. And underneath that goes emotion. We could call it cognitive behavioral emotional hypnotherapy, because emotions as well. And so this approach that we look at particularly as people look at their experience in terms of their emotions and what emotions they want to change, their behavior and change of behavior, and their thoughts. And we always are doing analysis across those three things, breaking down the experience into the unhelpful emotions. So a person's too tense and anxious and feels fear. Unhelpful behavior, avoidance in a situation. They might be avoiding eye contact and not interacting with people, or avoiding topics of conversation, or trying to talk fast so people can't see they're nervous. We want to help change that behavior. And unhelpful thinking. Oh, I don't want people to see what I'm really like. People won't like me, etc. And helping change into more helpful thoughts. So when we work with a client in this cognitive behavioral approach, what we do is take particular situations, and life is about concrete situations. People might come in and say, oh, I'm just a negative person, or I've got a negative personality. So first of all, we're going to say, well, okay, when does that show up for you? Give me a recent example. And then we want to unpack that recent episode and break it down and do a little bit of what we call a situational analysis, that analyze that situation in terms of thoughts, feelings, behavior, and then the consequences of that. And then what we want to do is agree what will be the therapy goals for that situation in terms of how you'd like to be feeling, how you'd like to be thinking, and particularly important, how you'd like to be handling that situation. And then we're going to use hypnosis to bring in those changes. Hypnosis is excellent at helping people relax, so we can bring in those relaxed feelings. Hypnosis is great at doing imagery rehearsal and rehearsing those new behaviors. And remember, when you're thinking about an idea, it is an event in the body. So if you're doing imagery rehearsal and rehearsing coming into a room more confident and eager and interested to meet people, you're actually rehearsing those kind of all the micro behaviors, all the neurology and physiological circuits responsible for those behaviors are being rehearsed under hypnosis when you're doing that imagery. But in hypnosis, you're having this sort of, it's a bit like a virtual reality simulator. You're feeling as if it's really true. The experience of imagining under hypnosis is particularly believable and really feels like it's actually happening to you. And then you can rehearse the new thoughts that you want to have as well. Hypnosis is, we give clients ideas here that change their thoughts and feelings and behavior. So hypnosis is a very cognitive thing in a way. So we're having clients focus on helpful ideas, being more relaxed, and rehearsing more effective behavior in the situation. And then we'll have them imagine that across lots of different situations and then try taking that out into their life. And step by step now, they begin to bring the improvements they want in the way they think, feel, and behave into this situation, this situation, this situation, this situation. And before you know it, they're feeling and responding and handling all ranges of situations in their life much more effectively. Okay, so let's, in a moment I'm going to take you through a case and just show you kind of the way we approach that case and the impact of doing, I think, about 6 or 7 therapy sessions with this particular client. One of the things I want you to notice is that the focus here is very much on the present moment, changing the way the client is handling things now in their life and also preparing for future situations. We're not going off into a search in the past for the roots of where things come from. And this is a real, I think it's a real problem through the whole area of therapy. There's far too much focus on sort of historical roots of things, what we might call the original causes. CBT, the cognitive behavioral approach, is much more focused on what we call maintaining, what's maintaining the problem. Yeah, we know it started off in the past off here, but 30 years have gone by now. So what happened in the past still lingers into the present moment. What is going on in the present moment that is maintaining the problem? Yeah, it comes from the past, but it's in the present moment we want to make change. Change can only happen in the present moment. In a way, the present moment is all that exists. The past is just thoughts in our head that we're having in the present moment. The future is thoughts in our head that we're having in the present moment. You're starting to get some of my sort of yoga and Buddhist stuff here. I'm passionate about us engaging and being more in contact with the present moment and then being able to make better choices by being very present with our experience. So, yeah, we don't go off for a journey into the past. We want to see what's happening right here and now. When we move into a situation, yeah, lots of thoughts and memories might come up from the past, but they're happening in the present moment. And then we can start to learn to let go of those and focus our attention on more helpful ideas and what we want to be doing. In a way, keeping this focus on, the past and the difficult traumatic past that happened, sometimes is what really keeps the problems alive, rather than being more focused in the here and now and becoming more effective in the here and now. There's a great saying from the yoga scriptures. It's from the Yoga Vashishta, which, if I'm right, is an 11th or 12th century scripture. And I love this quote. It says, "There is no power greater than right action in the present moment." There is no power greater than right action in the present moment. And that's simply what I want you and everyone to become more aware of, the potential for making a more helpful, I don't want to say better, more helpful choice for you now, letting go of anything that's coming up that lingers from the past and being more focused into the present moment on what you really want to be doing, feeling, thinking, and engaging with. So let's look at a case I worked with. A client came to see me quite a few years back, 2011 actually, Robin, and he's an ex-professor of music and piano teacher and was quite lonely, I think estranged from his wife and family, and he came to see me because he felt so socially isolated and awkward and resentful towards himself and everyone else about the whole thing. He came to me and said, "Mark, I go to church and I want to meet people there. It's just so fucking awkward. It's so fucking awkward." And he just could not. He was enraged that he couldn't talk to people normally and easily and was so shy it frustrated him. So we worked together really quite joyously and playfully, and he was so engaged and brought what we call the learning attitude. He really wanted to learn and put it into practice. And that's one of the key things about this approach. You've got to put it into practice between the sessions. Otherwise, all the heavy lifting is being done during the session. It'll take ages. No. The client takes it out and tries it out and reads more and tries stuff out and does sort of experiments in their daily life and brings that back to the therapy session, and we discuss it and unpack it, and they go ahead and in this way make change. So I introduced him to some ideas, particularly on how he wanted to feel, what he wanted to be thinking, what would be more helpful, particularly what he wanted to be doing in those situations, and kept the focus on changing his behavior in those situations and becoming much less inhibited and learning to open out and talk to people more comfortably, naturally, spontaneously. We did about 6 or 7 sessions. He applied it a lot, and then he wrote to me recently, so this is several years later, and let me share this letter with you because I think you'll get a flavour of the change that's come for him. He's saying, when you start to find it easier to talk to people, you also discover gradually that you are accepted by others by and large. And it takes time to sink in, but this is a beginning. I always used to think that people would not accept me. This leads to one having newfound feelings of warmth towards oneself and the beginning of self-acceptance, all coming gradually, of course. I used to be so resentful of others, but after feeling accepted myself, this feeling also started to disappear. The more compassion you find you have, the more peace or spaciousness, to use Pema Chodron's word, you have, and this leads gradually to deeper connectedness and the feeling of being at home in more and more difficult situations. For someone who has so often isolated himself from people and felt the often bitter resentment that goes with this, there could be no more wanted outcome. Over a period, this brought me confidence when dealing with a widening circle of people until, as I mentioned in an earlier email, I now find I'm speaking to everyone. It becomes habitual to speak. This is instead of wanting to speak and then thinking of good reasons for not doing so, which was a lifetime habit. It doesn't end there. This led to the discovery that people are like me, and often, though not always of course, very happy to be talked to, especially by someone with a smile who really listens. The newfound confidence meant that I didn't feel crushed by rejection, or at least nothing like as badly as I used to. And most importantly, it has enabled me to make new friends at the age of 70. All this started in February 2011 with my first therapy session with Mark. Back then I had low self-esteem, suffered shyness, found all social situations at the very least embarrassing, at worst intolerable. Longed to be a friendly, outgoing type. Today, all this is more or less reversed, though I still have some way to go. I find life more wonderful than ever, have the friends I craved, belong to and enjoy groups of several kinds, cope fairly well now with social situations that I would have avoided in the past, look forward to each new day as it comes, in the main handling the bad bits fairly well, and really like trying out new things. All in all, my 70s are proving to be far and away my best decade yet. So, I mean, that's so lovely to receive as a therapist, and I also help for you. It's so hopeful and inspiring that even somebody who's deeply entrenched in a pattern and a kind of lifetime personality was able to make those changes and reap the benefits of that. Not in terms of just feeling better and thinking better, but in terms of their behavior changing. So now he's running a runs of regular film night in his home, and they have a poetry evening, and his whole life is expanding at the age of 70 into his 70s, and how wonderful is that? So, yes, what would it be like to doing that work? And I want to explain, we didn't go off into a journey into the past. We kept the focus on the present and what he wanted to be doing, and worked out how to change his behaviour step by step, how to let go of the thoughts, stay more relaxed, and focus on changing behaviours so that he has become turn from kind of an introvert to an extrovert, turn from shy to being outgoing, and really enjoys connecting to people everywhere. And so this is a combination of mostly of behavior therapy and hypnosis that we put together. And he worked really hard at it as well. And that's important. So your ability to really get into this collaborative alliance with the client and motivate them to put stuff into practice and try it out is a key part of being a therapist. And that's one of the things we focus on in the training. Not just the whole art and science of doing hypnosis and hypnotherapy and writing scripts and delivering imagery suggestions and imagery rehearsal, but also the whole how you come together. What we call the working alliance, the therapeutic alliance, is the most important part of therapy. That's more important than any techniques that you use, any hypnosis or anything else. That's what all the research shows. The most important factor after who the client is, obviously, that's the most important factor, what they bring, what they arrive with. The second most important factor is the nature and quality of the therapeutic relationship, or what I like to call the working alliance. And then the third thing is what techniques you use, and that's where you still got to use some techniques. You can't just have a working alliance and no techniques. So that's where I want to invite you into learning to train in this approach. And I'll tell you a little bit about the training now. So yeah, I'm a passionate educator. I love sharing and help and empowering people with knowledge and skills. And also, but I really want people to go out there and use it. You know, unused knowledge is a burden. And the point of the training, a lot of people experience personal transformation through the 21 days of the training, a lot of personal transformation, which is great. And we want them to put it into practice and be helping other people in this approach that we share, which is very much what I call sort of coping skills training. We're training clients in the skills on how to cope with their lives better and get more out of their lives. So what does that look like? I mean, is it possible? Yes, I mean, I did it. And lots of people that I've trained have done it as well. I talked about Bill there. I think about Tim. He's actually helping us doing a little bit of training as well. Tim had a career, doesn't have a degree, had a career back in banking and the whole finance sector and corporate work, came out of that and trained with us back in 2014 and now has a good and busy practice helping particularly people with social anxiety. And he's a really creative therapist and a really confident therapist. Because he's really just applied what we taught on the course and kind of gone really deep on that. Gillian Wingard at behavioralfreedom.co.uk, that's her website, behavioralfreedom.co.uk, trained her in 2013. She's a mother and she only wanted sort of part-time work because she wants to still, you know, she's a mother, she can't be a full-time. So this works really well. She sees clients for 12 to 15 hours a week, has essentially a full-time income from that pretty much because she charges about £80–85 an hour from part-time work. She only sees the clients she's really confident seeing. She's super confident working with all the different types of anxiety. She doesn't want to do smoking or weight loss. She just focuses on anxiety and she's got really expert at working with that and can pretty well work with any case of anxiety. So that's one of the things is specializing, deciding what you're going to specialize in. Somebody else we trained recently, she really picked up on that research about hot flushes and she's developed a program, both works one-on-one but also does small group work and courses for women go through those changes, through menopause, but so dealing with the symptoms, the hot flushes and other things, but also the different things. There's a whole different shift in so many different ways. Whole role and sense of identity is changing. She loves their working with people using hypnotherapy and all the other things you're going to learn on the course. So you'll learn a lot of hypnosis, but you'll learn a lot of non-hypnotic techniques as well, and bringing all that to bear to help people move through that transition. And many other stories too. I mean, Tom, you can look on the website and see our stories of success there. Tom Cleary was assistant head teacher. 5 months later, he's got his own business as a hypnotherapist. It's building slowly and he's starting to see more and more clients. Referrals are working really well for him. He's doing a lot of work with runners, interestingly, which he didn't expect to, and has actually gone back, which he didn't think he was going to, working with children, and is probably going to specialize in those sorts of areas. Vanessa, we recently trained, she's over in Luxembourg. She just went at this. She was absolutely, was determined to make this work. And particularly took it to her corporate contacts that she had, and particularly took a sort of stress management approach to it, helping people deal with stress, business stress, etc. Within 2 months, she'd done 60 client sessions and when she set up her business. It's not a small thing to set up your own business. I don't want to pretend this is easy money. You can earn a 6-figure sum just by taking the course. This is, no. It's hard work, and if you've never left the mothership of working for somebody else, you're going to need to learn the mindset to do that. And that particularly is about what I want to call problem solving. You're going to learn that on the course, actually. In fact, what you learn on the course, you apply it to help get your business started. You hypnotize yourself to become a great hypnotherapist. You hypnotize yourself to be confident, but particularly you're going to work on becoming a great problem solver, because to set up a business, any business, and this business here, you're going to have to solve lots of problems, get lots of things done. You're going to have to solve the fact that you feel down today and not like doing things, that suddenly the person you hired to do your website isn't doing it so well. Problems and hassles are there in life. Becoming a resilient and creative problem solver is the key to becoming successful actually in whatever you do, but particularly in this area here. So, and we'll coach you through that and help you through that, because I'm passionate about you getting into practice. How much can you earn as a hypnotherapist? Well, part of it depends on whether you're going to go part-time or full-time and how quickly you do it. There is something about just focusing in and doing it and going, I'm going to make this work, I've got to make it work, I'm going to make it work, and not sort of doing some part-time work over here. But by the time you ramp up, you can be doing 15 to 20 client hours a week and charging, well, depends where you are in the country for sure. In some parts of the country you can charge maybe 50, 60 pounds an hour. If you're in London, you can be charging 120, 150 pounds an hour. You can do the sums from there. There is one limit you're going to factor in. If you are successful, particularly in London at those prices, then if you earn above 80,000 a year, you're going to need to register for VAT and pay 20% of all your income. So that's a little bit of frustration, and but that's a different sort of problem to solve later on. You should be able to earn an income if you work full-time at this, which means 40 hours a week at least running your own business, doing marketing, administration, preparing and seeing clients. Within a couple of years, you should be able to replace sort of what a teacher might be earning, between 30 to 35,000, maybe up to 40,000 a year. Maybe you can get higher than that, that's great. If you start to do some other things as well and do some courses and workshops, that can increase. And we really want to show you how to do that. In a way, running courses and workshops is easier than doing one-on-one therapy. And so we want to encourage you out there to be teaching, running relaxation workshops, self-hypnosis workshops, mindfulness workshops. And those will give you also great feed in for seeing clients one-on-one. So I hope that gives you some sense of what it means to set up your practice. We can take you through and show you all the steps to do it, and we give you mentoring support as well. In fact, everyone that does our training gets 2 hours free one-on-one mentoring with one of our main teachers or tutors to help you get through that. What's involved in the training? Basically, it's 3 stages. It's done in 7-day intensive blocks. So it's quite intensive training. I think that tends to draw in more focused people than sort of weekenders. And we get many people traveling from abroad to do this training. We had a dentist come from Kuwait, who a pediatric dentist who works with children. She wants to really learn this approach. We had a psychiatrist come from Nice recently. We've had other people come from Norway, Hong Kong, China, all around the world to come and do this training. We're the only place probably in the world that teaches this particular approach in this much depth. So it's 3 7-day blocks. You do them in order. Stage 1, evidence-based hypnosis. Stage 2, behavioral hypnotherapy, behavior therapy plus hypnosis. Stage 3, cognitive hypnotherapy, cognitive therapy plus hypnosis. And then once you've completed those, you'll do some assessment questions. So we want to assess and make sure that you've met the learning outcomes. There's 28 questions to write short essay answers to, and then submit those. You can get some mentoring help with those if you need. You get a chance to resubmit as well. Pretty much everyone, if they focus on that, does get through that, and then you get the award, the Diploma in Cognitive Behavioral Hypnotherapy, which is awarded from the outside, not by us. It's from NCFE, who are a government-regulated examining and awarding body, and it's equivalent to NVQ Level 4. And the training itself is also approved by the British Psychological Society. If you're a psychologist and you're looking for approved CPD, this is approved CPD by the British Psychological Society. And also that qualification, the diploma, is accepted by the main hypnotherapy organisations. So you can join the National Council of Hypnotherapy and the General Hypnotherapy Register, and you can also join what's called CNHC, the Complementary and Natural Healthcare Council, which is a sort of national register of hypnotherapists and complementary therapists. Particularly if you're going to work with the NHS and want to try and work with the NHS, then you'll want to be on that register. I want to be clear, by the way, there aren't really any jobs in hypnotherapy. You're not going to be able to go along to the NHS and get a job. That wasn't what I was saying there. What I meant there was that if you wanted to get referrals for private business where doctors are sending clients to you, probably not funded by the NHS, that will be very rare, people are going to self-fund, then you'll want to join the CNHC. And it's interesting, I mean, particularly the approach we teach, evidence-based, science-based approach, blending hypnosis with cognitive behavioural therapy and mindfulness. That's the sort of hypnosis doctors prefer than somebody who's going to take you on a regression into childhood or things like that. So if you start talking that language with doctors, with dentists, whoever you want to sort of network with, they're really going to like that you're taking a science-based approach. It's based off evidence, you're not making wild claims, and you're tying in with cognitive behavioural therapy, etc. So yeah, I think that's pretty much brings us to conclusion here. So what are the next steps? A few things. I mean, one, yeah, take a look at the website and go through. There's lots of material there, great frequently asked questions section, lots of good videos as well to watch. And really the main step is there to think whether you want to sign up and come and take the whole diploma. There are different dates that you can join that. We run the stage 1 course several times a year and the stage 2 and 3. And you can kind of pick and choose your dates, so people kind of like to do them all together, quite close together. Or maybe you just want to come along to the stage 1 course and learn about evidence-based hypnosis. We're going to cover all the nuts and bolts of hypnosis, including pain control and doing that, and how to do a thorough client assessment. That's all in the stage 1. Or maybe you want to kind of dip the toe in a bit more slowly, come along and do our self-hypnosis workshop, which is kind of going to be sort of an expansion of what I've covered here in more depth. And that'll give you a taste of whether you want to train in this approach. A lot of you also might have questions, I want to talk to somebody, in which case I'm happy to make myself available. I love talking to people. I'm passionate about making sure that you make the right choice and choose the right course for you. Having people on the course for which the course isn't a good fit really doesn't work. We want everyone to be really happy, and then we have just a fantastic group learning environment. Some other things you could do, we could arrange for you to talk to one of the other teachers or one of the other therapists that's been in practice, particularly if you want to talk to somebody who was a teacher before or somebody who's already a CBT therapist. We can find somebody to talk to so they could answer your questions about it. Finally, another thing that we offer as well, if you're seriously interested, is to come and observe a half day of the course or even a full day of the course. A key principle, core value we have is transparency. So we want you to be able to see, exactly what the course is like, and you can do that through watching some of the videos we've got, and we can show you some videos from the course if you want, but also turn up, come up and actually see what the course is like. Then you can really decide if this is the course for you. Okay, well, I hope you found this helpful. I found it interesting. There's kind of so much more I want to share about hypnosis and meditation and CBT and yoga, but we'll draw it to a close here. Do send your questions in, and we may make it a little additional video or do a posting where we answer your questions as well. All right, take care, everyone. And we're going to give you a recording as well to listen to. So check your email, because there'll be a follow-up recording where you can listen to, have a self-hypnosis recording that you can use to increase your level of relaxation and confidence. All right, take care.